Hey everybody, it's me Hugh, and we are here on a hot summer day, and we're gonna have got a couple of great interviews here. I got Sasha joining me as a co-host, and Daryl as a co-host, and we have. I'm not sure how to introduce our first guest, Monty Cantsin Amen,
That's fine. Yeah.
and or well, we're gonna give away the secret anyway because it's in your website, istvankantor.com.
Right.
So now we had you on the show a few years ago, right? Remember?
Really? No, I
You
can't.
I showed Sasha the other day.
we saw it. Yeah, it's
Yes,
interview.
we have proof.
Oh, when was that and where? Not here.
That's before you had metal teeth.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we have a lot we can talk about today, Monty. I think we'll call you Monty, at least for now.
That's correct.
Anyways, here we are.
Sounds good.
You got a hat on with a red star. You have some Chinese thing going on over here on your arm.
Well, I go to China very often. I have 10-year visa, and I do lots of work in China.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you were meeting there with Ai Weiwei in China. Yeah?
That's right. Yeah.
Who's that?
It's a famous Chinese dissident artist.
Oh, okay. And they still let you in China? Even if you're meeting with dissidents and stuff, maybe
Oh
they
well,
would,
it's very interesting, the situation there. Of course, he's called a dissident, but he is actually one of the most famous artists who is very well respected and has done tons of work.
Now you guys have known each other for a long time, right?
Couple decades,
Sasha
yeah.
and Istvan.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
following Istvan as a fan for a while when you had your shows at the Wastelands and all sorts of.
Yeah, and Sasha was always one of my performers in my performance art group, Machine Sex Section group.
What's it called?
Machine
Yeah.
Sex
Yeah.
Action Group.
I like that name.
Yeah.
I mean, Daryl's got something to say.
Can we hear a little bit more about this? Or what was that all about?
Yeah, well, Machine Sex Section Group was a performance group with the purpose to explore the body and technology at the same time, and create performances that were pretty much manifesting the idea that the leading forces of technological society is sex and technology.
Okay, well that's.
Is that because sex sells? Is that the idea?
No,
That,
not at
or-
all. No, it's
well, it does sell though, but
well.
because sorry, go ahead, Istvan. I want to hear your answer.
Okay, so Wilhelm Reich was a very important scientist and psychiatrist, and a man who was also perhaps a philosopher. And originally from Germany, he was a communist, and he was almost killed by the Nazis. He had to escape because of his ideas.
Wasn't he like best student of Nietzsche or something like that?
No, he was a student of Freud.
Freud, right? Freud. Okay, yeah.
And what is interesting that he had to escape from the communists, later from the Nazis, and then he came to the United States and he died in a prison.
In the States, yeah, they
yeah.
imprisoned him, supposedly in the land of freedom,
And-
right?
Well,
Exactly, yeah.
Apparently, he,
So, yeah.
apparently he was selling organ boxes, like some kind of.
Yeah, he
devices.
was the one who researched orgone energy that is basically all over the place around us, but we don't know about it. But it's a kind of energy that is very helpful to save our health and well-being. Wilhelm Reich was a very inspiring scientist whose work is very important for me, and I took lots of ideas from him for this group, machine sex action group. And so his ideas were one of the leading forces of this.
And he met with Tesla, from what I remember.
I never heard
Or-
that.
Well, he
no.
did go down to Colorado,
But
but that's a
maybe
whole other
indeed.
story. But let's talk about sex, because you're saying sex is a motivating for human endeavor. Now we're in the technological age. Is that what you're saying?
I said that sex is the driving force of society. Yeah, that I didn't say that. Wilhelm Reich said.
Do you
that.
think it has always been that way?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah. And
Well, that's a.
Well,
can
science
we
and
say
anyway,
about
so
that?
Sasha was part of that group, Machine Sex Action Group, which was a local performance art group, consisted of lots of local artists, performance artists, visual artists, musicians, etc.
robotics.
Yeah, and we were also extended with machinery. So it was a kind of interactive situation where we could control with our bodies different technological devices, like cameras, for example.
Well, Istvan built these robots that were opening and closing filing cabinets with a pneumatic. You did it with Jeff Mann, this like robotic octopus that would be sitting on top of filing cabinets and opening and closing
That's kind of a cool
drawers.
idea, considering that filing cabinets they're like old school. Like in
No, at that
technolog-
time they were not old school. Filing cabinets are information storage furniture, and they were the computers before computers came into our
Yeah.
technology. And when the computer system was developed, filing cabinets were connected together because at that time, still in the 90s, people kept everything in filing cabinets, the files, in drawers, and when they had to send some information to somewhere else, they had to take out the file, digitize the information and send it somebody else, and this person would make a copy, whatever laser copy, photocopy, and put that in a file and put it back into the filing cabinet. So there was an interaction between filing cabinets. People were opening and closing filing cabinets and sending information. So there was a whole machinery system set up that consisted of filing cabinets and computers and people who were controlling them. So that was basically the idea for the performance. That's exactly what we were doing. We were using the filing cabinets as robotic machinery and interacting with them.
We're having intercourse with filing cabinets.
Also, yeah.
We
No,
had like
I'd like
a
to
bungee cord attached between our legs into the filing cabinet handle, and would like intercourse with the filing, opening, closing drawers. We did 5-day festival, rhubarb festival at Badison by the time.
Well, the pelvic strokes in Wilhelm Reich theory, pelvic strokes are very important in therapy for people, especially who have some problem with their sexuality, because pelvic strokes, as yes, in intercourse, obviously, it's not only it's a kind of physical movement that completely takes over the body, and under this condition, when you are creating these pelvic strokes, all the information what you transmit, because we always transmit information under heavy conditions, that becomes very different. Like, for example, an epileptic person also transmits very chaotic information when this person having an epileptic seizure. It's a little bit the same with contraction during intercourse.
I'm working full time for the 14 secret masters of the universe. I never watch the clock. It's always 6 o'clock. We love to horrify the good little children of bourgeois bureaucracy. We love to terrify all the lying leaders of stupefying politics. We love to play with blood and fire. We are the virus in your computer. We make you swing, we make you smile. Join us and never, never, never die! Mia is a mouse! Say what they don't want to hear. Show what they don't want to see. Do what they want to stop. Is the height of your ambition to be good and willing slaves? Shall you kneel in deep submission from your cradles to your graves? All the world you make is taken by exploiting parasites. Workers of the world, awaken, break your chains, demand your rights! I am to lead, you are to follow. I am today, you are tomorrow. Beauty, that idol of imperial aesthetics, has repeatedly shown itself to be a calamity for all revolutionary creativity. And it will remain so until it is overthrown forever by the people of the Lower East Side.
Well, okay, so now I got a lot of questions. I don't think we're going to get to them all today. We're going to have to get you back. But first of all, let's talk about the name Monty Cantsin and specifically, because I know a little bit about that, but what's the Amen at the end all about?
Well, when you get to the situation when you have said everything already and you feel like you accomplished what you wanted, you just say Amen. And I was in that kind of feeling sometime in the 90s when I was working on a book, the Book of Neoism, and of course we are going to talk about Neoism. And the Book of Neoism basically is a work that accumulates all the ideas I had and I have concerning art, technology, all what I have done throughout my life. And so I thought that instead of using other names, I just use this Amen as a all inclusive kind of sign for a mark for my existence.
Okay, now since we got Sasha here, because I heard when they put Amen at the end of a prayer or whatever, it's actually a reference to some Egyptian
God Amun-Ra.
something like that. Is
Yeah,
that true?
well, it's the hidden god. So,
Yeah.
and it's the primordial god of the Egyptians,
Yeah.
Amunet and Amun,
Yeah.
comprising the first primordial couple that created the rest of the Egyptian gods. So, in that sense, that's the hidden forces behind the visible world.
Right. So they put that on the end, and that means we're actually.
So, at the end, it's like at the end of everything is Amen.
So Istvan, does that mean that you're? Do you feel you're at the end of the work that you can do? That the work is complete, or?
No, not exactly. No, it was at that time I felt like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So
So
you.
I started using that name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how did you come to?
But I went through this period and
how did you?
added Amen to all of my names. I have tons of names. Istvan Kantor, Monty Cantsin Amen, Esmeralda, Eldorado, Spooky, Sawang, and these names came from different period of my life, just like Picasso have different periods of blue and I don't know, all kind
Right.
of color period. I
Yeah.
have periods of different names.
So how did you start Neoism? Like, where did Neoism came from out of all that?
Yeah, that's very important. Why Neoism and how the whole thing started. I have to say that I still trying to figure that out, and to define Neoism is very difficult. It happened in the late 70s when I was a political refugee, and I left Hungary, where I was born, and went to Paris, and from Paris I emigrated to Montreal, and so I was in a land completely and definitely completely new from all the living situations I had been in times before, and that kind of created a perfect situation for me to start something new, and I wanted to do that. And also it was the end of 70s, lots of things were happening throughout the world, and I arrived to Montreal where things were a little bit slow maybe, but I was surrounded by all these other refugees from different countries, very different places, from Europe and Asia and South America, and so we were the same kind of people and wanted to start something new. And I somehow figured out this name, Neoism. Let's do now everything in the name of Neoism.
That's interesting.
And that's how it started. The way I started it, actually, it was very experimental. That one day I just went to the street, sat down on a chair like I'm sitting here, but I put a sign on the chair, Neoism. And then I was waiting there, and the people came to see me, and they said, "What is Neoism?" And I said, "That's what I would like to find out. That's why I'm sitting here."
That's kind of cool. So it's like a question, a never-ending question rather than
Exactly.
an answer.
That's a never-ending question, and tons of millions of answers. None of them are forever. You
Right.
always have to go on and change into something else.
The word
yeah.
itself means new ideology, like new, and
Neoism, well, it means basically, if you want to translate it somehow, it
a
means
new
that
ideology,
a new movement.
new movement, right? And it's a specifically anti-art movement, or it's a art movement in itself.
Well, let's see. Neoism has no definition, we like to say, or no manifesto. However, we had a manifesto right at the very beginning, and it was Neoism, to get away from the prison of art, build open situations which permits anyone to contribute, act, react, destroy, create. We test and train our and your physical conditions and give not only physical but mental, and give therapy for both. As the armed forces of world powers, traders, parties, terrorists, we are also standing on the alert to change the world. We are for perpetual change and total freedom.
Amen.
That's
So
Okay.
does that sounds a little bit like anarchy? Is that part of the idea?
Yes, well, of course, anarchy is always there and always a starting point for Neoism and a source, of course, yeah.
And how about any connections you see to Dadaism?
Yes, people always want to connect us to Dadaism. I always refuse this. I don't want to be in the historical avant-garde. I always thought that neoism has to deny everything what happened before and
Start
just
fresh.
accept what we are doing in the name of neoism.
You know, I think it's cool because it's like Dadaism is a thing. It's in the history of art. But now, as we hit the Amen moment, right?
There's no more history.
That's right. And history is finished anyways, right?
Yeah.
We have to continually reinvent. We have to continually ask the question. We don't know the answers. And if we're going to have a future, it's going to have to be about asking questions. And it kind of reminds me, it's parallel to things like, and you were doing this in the 70s, but it's parallel to things like the whole open source movement, blockchain, decentralized technology going forward.
Peer-to-peer.
Yeah, all that stuff, right?
And so that coming and kind of giving your donations, perhaps unwarranted donations to the museums, when did you first started offering your artwork to the museum walls, or blood artwork?
Oh, here, Sasha is talking about my museum interventions that consisted that I entered the museum and between two famous artworks I splashed my blood on the walls.
Which would be first museum?
Yeah, which means
The
Where
first
you did
museum was in Montreal at the Musée d'Art Contemporain. Yeah, it was in the early 80s. And then I, because I moved after that to New York, I continued my work there, and
The
I
MoMA?
did the Museum of Modern Art. Yeah, that was, but I did other ones before as well and after, of course, many. The MoMA was one of the most successful in size and also in communication. What is interesting in these interventions that when you made this sign on the wall, just a simple blood X, that triggers a very strong reaction, and so immediately, obviously, the directors of museum, the security comes, then they call the police, I get arrested, go to jail, go to prison, from there go to the court, start talking to judges and lawyers and all that goes into the media, the newspapers, television, whatever. People start talking about and debating: is it good or bad, or what's
Is it art?
is it art or just crime,
vandalism.
crime or vandalism? Yeah, so it develops a really interesting way of talking about art a different way than usually.
yeah.
The most recent one you did, Jeff Koons show.
Yeah, I did the Jeff Koons retrospective at the Whitney Museum of American Art. Yeah,
And I participated with you at AGO. We did little intervention.
Yeah, that's true,
At the
yeah.
Warhol disaster.
yeah, at the Warhol.
And we were banned for 3 years, I think.
I'm
But,
still banned. I'm still banned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because they were closing for renovations, so I thought it was all cool.
Okay, listen, we're gonna end it. This is the end of part 1. We're gonna come back with part 2 right after this.
So much to cover, man.
Yeah.
It was a moonlit night in old Mexico. I walked alone between some old adobe haciendas when suddenly I heard the plaintive cry of a young Mexican girl. You better come home, Speedy Gonzales, away from Tannery Row. Stop all of your drinking with that boozy name Flo. Come on home to your adobe and slap some mud on the wall. The roof is leaking like a strainer. There's loads of roaches in the hall. Speedy Gonzales, why don't you come home? Speedy Gonzales, how come you leave me all
Hey,
alone?
Rosita, I have to go shopping downtown for my mother. She needs some tortillas and chili peppers.
Your dog is gonna have a puppy, and we're running out of coke. The enchiladas in the icebox, and the television's broke. I saw some lipstick on your sweatshirt. I smell some perfume in your ear. Well, if you're gonna keep on messing, don't bring your business back here. Speedy Gonzales, why don't you come home? Speedy Gonzales, how come you leave me all alone?
Hey, Rosita, come quick. Down at the cantina, they're giving green stamps with tequila.